Hi, it's Mark from Top Local. We're here with Bernie Pawlik. Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver. 38 years of repairing cars in Vancouver and 18-time winners of Best Auto Repair in Vancouver as voted by their customers. How you doing, Bernie?
Fantastic.
Fantastic, because I know you were a little bit sick earlier this week. So we're talking
Yeah.
about an old VW, a 21-year-old VW Golf that you had some work on. What was going on with this vehicle?
This vehicle had a really bad clunking noise coming from the rear, and the rear struts were worn out. So, in all fairness, this has been a client of ours for quite a long time, and we knew the struts were wearing. But I wanted to talk about this today because just the amount of wear on these struts before we replaced them was horrific, and it's just very interesting to kind of look at and just talk about struts and old VWs.
So there was a lot of noise. What else was going on when the vehicle was being driven?
Well, mostly there was just noise. I mean, when you drive the vehicle, I mean, any little minutest amount of a bump, even a microscopic bump, there'd be a creak and a bang in the back of the car. As I mentioned, it had been going on for quite some time. It's been a regular client for quite a while. And being an older car, it needed a lot of work. So we fixed up what needed to be done. The priority items and the struts were not on the priority list initially, but they certainly became high on the priority list, especially when the vehicle was in for the last service about a month ago. It had a bad wheel bearing problem, which was pretty severe in the rear. So we serviced that, fixed all that up, and then we noted that the rear struts, of course, had deteriorated so badly, in fact, that you could take the back wheel and rock it back and forth like quite a lot. You can see the strut. There's plate in the strut that just a massive amount of movement. So said, hey, you got to fix this as soon as possible. So recently, as soon as possible, it happened and we fixed it. But I'm going to share a couple of pictures because when we took it apart, it's just interesting to see just how badly worn a part like this can be. I'm actually going to start with a picture of the repaired strut. So this is what a good strut looks like. This is the actual strut part that got replaced. You can see this rusty piece. That's the coil spring. In this case, we did not replace it, but this accordion bellows piece here was replaced, and there's a piece up here called the snubber, which is it's a little foam cushion. If you hit a bump too hard, it'll actually prevent the top of the strut from hitting the strut plate. And then what's not in the picture is the strut plate, which is just out of the picture. And that's what mounts the top of the strut to the vehicle. This forms a sort of top part of the suspension. It keeps the wheel from flopping in and out. Plus it also provides the shock absorbing and spring motion. So that's why I like McPherson strut. It's a pretty unique component. It actually eliminates a lot of parts that you find in other suspensions. Now here's the broken part. So I put a couple of nice arrows here. Now this is actually with the bottom. We removed the bottom mounting, and basically the strut just fell apart. You can see the spring has slipped down. And normally this wouldn't happen. The strut would actually stay in place, but because it's so badly worn, the bottom of the strut tube is actually broken off inside. So this is the outside tube, and this is the piece that moves up and down when you hit bumps. The red arrow basically sort of points to the separation of the two components, and then the yellow I've just pointed the tube. You can see this ugly brownish color. There's oil inside struts, and as they wear, they leak, and of course water gets inside, and that's just an emulsified oil with oil and water mixture. It's just kind of ugly. So a good indication that your struts are actually wearing is if you see actually fluid like an oil seeping out of the strut. That's a good sign the struts are on their way out and need to be replaced. So there's a couple photos of what we saw. I don't have a video of the initial movement that was there, but trust me, it was pretty scary.
And is this a difficult replacement?
Not really too difficult on this vehicle. It's actually, it does involve some removal of the interior to access the upper strut bolts, but the job itself is not too difficult. This strut is not available. It's only available in bits and pieces, so we had to actually order whatever parts we needed. So which is why the spring was still old. But what we do in a lot of newer cars, and it's available for many models, is a part they call a quick strut, or I think other manufacturers have different names for it, but that's Monroe's kind of name, a quick strut. And what it is, it's a complete assembly. It's the strut, it's the upper mounting plate, it's the coil spring. Everything's brand new, so you just unbolt the assembly, bolt in a new one, and you get all the new parts. So it actually makes for a really good job. Probably a little more expensive than replacing bits and pieces, but then you're not going to forget something or find later, oh, it's making a little clunk or thump, or the springs are a little soft. You get the complete job. It's like restoring the suspension back to new. So that's a really good option, and we use it wherever we can. But in this older VW, you can only buy just the strut and the mounting plate and the bits and pieces.
And how did it ride?
Oh, much better. Yeah, no noise, smooth, and of course safe. Because, well, I mean, what would happen is eventually, if it broke apart, the spring would fly out. It could. I've never seen it happen because I've never seen anyone leave it that far. But it would take maybe even a little bit longer for that to happen. But the spring could fling out. The wheel would flop out to a side or something like that. It's like it could be pretty scary. But anyways, much safer, nice quiet ride.
21-year-old Golf, would that still be a worthwhile used car purchase?
Well, it could be. First thing, I would never buy one with an automatic. Like 96 to about 06 VW, somewhere in that year range, with automatics are really problematic. But if it's with a standard transmission, well maintained, it's obviously not going to be a very expensive car. But if you're looking for something inexpensive, it could be a decent used car, again, with a mechanic's inspection.
So there you go. If you're looking for an old VW that you need replacement or service on, or you're looking to buy one and you want to have it inspected before purchase, the guys to see in Vancouver are Pawlik Automotive. You can reach them at 604-327-7112 to book ahead. They're busy. You have to book ahead, or check out their website, pawlikautomotive.com, or search for Pawlik Automotive on YouTube. Hundreds of videos on there from all kinds of repairs and cars and makes for many years now. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark.